surely. You cannot rely on the entity declaration. There exists mechanism of independent ascertainment. Has that been done? And then the DG is aware that they had proposed that in the first 2 years after the effective date, that they should be allowed to change shareholding. It is there in the proposal. Honestly, what are we doing?
And Chair, I will not tire from repeating. That's why I'm saying we have 2 levels of due diligence. The detailed due diligence, where you will get all those facts. And it is good it is now being conducted now and not then. Because then you would be very clear on the shareholding of this entity. Why can't we just allow the process to conclude? The process is ongoing. Section 27, Honorable SIFUNA, being a lawyer, I know you are very strict to legal provisions. I have mentioned 2 sections, Section 41 and 27. 41 is due diligence at that high level. There is Section 27. The process is ongoing.
Honorable Mbadi, you and I agreed a long time that when it comes to matters of finance, I will not question your judgment. I wish you remember that you also gave me an undertaking that when it comes to law, you will defer to my knowledge on the law. Honorable Mbadi, I know these days you don't attend social functions, but surely if your son tells you they want to marry somebody, the first thing you do is to find out which family that person comes from. Who's the mother of this child? Who's the father of this child? Will be auditing that ownership after the marriage has already been consummated and you find your son has married from a witch doctor's family. Surely.
And Chair, and I agree. And by the way, that was an agreement some time back when we used to lead a very serious party together. But let me just put it this way, that I respect SIFUNA in matters law. He respects me on matters finance. The predicament we find ourselves in is we are dealing with a mongrel of both law and finance. And in that case, we just need to respect each other and guide each other systematically. Let me put it this way. Now, if you want now to go to the details and audit and find the actual ownership verified, then you move to the next level, where we are. Section.
Before I give a friend of the committee, I have a member of the committee who want to ask a question. So things are changing very fast. Yeah, so Vice Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Chair, you know, I served with Honorable Mbadi in the National Assembly for 10 years. And I know him as a man who will not allow the law to be circumvented by any way or any other process that is of public interest. Chair, I would ask the CS this. Now that, you know, from what has been tabled, at least I have seen one letter, the one by a company called Nexus something, that one was received by KAA. And now that there is evidence that there was no full disclosure by the contracting authority, that is KAA, are you then, as Treasury and the PPP Directorate, ready to open up this process for competitive bidding, now that it's not only Adani that has shown interest in this whole thing, considering the issues that have already been raised about Adani? That is one. Chair, I also needed to know, where are we in this process, or what stage at the moment? And Chair, you know, also knowing CS Mbadi very well, that he's a man who will only do what will be of value to Kenyans, that there'll be value for money. I'm sure you are, you know, undertaking, you know, a process to know that there are other interested parties who will do the JKIA airport on less money than what is being offered by Adani. One of the examples I will give you is that Qatar Airways at the moment is building a more sophisticated international airport at Rwanda with a 5-star hotel for less than half of the money that Adani is asking for. Would we not consider such other offers or such other groups that may give us value for our money? Thank you.
Buenos Aires.
Full disclosure. You see, on what method of procurement to use, Treasury's role is just to guide. It's supposed to be the contracting authority, because again, if we gave too much directives to the contracting authority, I would again be here for interfering with the process. So we guide the contracting authority, in this case, KAA. And policy direction is from the State Department for Transport. So I want again be clear there that the policy direction will be given or is given by Transport. In terms of where we are with this process, we are at due diligence stage still. I read it when I documented the steps that have been taken. So we are at the due diligence where all the issues that are of concern to the people, including public participation, if it were not for the court process, would still be ongoing as we speak. So there you can easily pick out issues of concern. Now, as to whether there is another provider, you see, this process has not concluded. I want to come back to that again. In fact, it will only conclude when the matter goes to the cabinet, where I sit, and the Attorney General also must give authority. So this process is still going on. And when it reaches a point where we now have to make a decision presented with facts on value for money, I am sure we'll engage our minds properly to it. But I also know, because I've also heard, and I had to inquire, that there could be another interest even after Adani. I have heard, I have no evidence, no documents, that there could be another interest. But then the assurance I'm given is that there is nothing that stops KAA even from initiating another process or PIP. Even if it is a Qatari Airways, they can still initiate it now. And the only provision in law is that if that is concluded and it is better than the Adani one, then they would compensate Adani. That is what is provided in law, to the extent that that compensation is needed to be done. So I think, if you ask me, that this process is still at some stage where I think many of us are rushing to a conclusion that is concluded. Whether it is concluded in some people's minds, I don't know, because I can't open people's minds and hearts. But what I know is, in terms of process and procedure, it is not. It has not come to the cabinet. The Attorney General has not approved it. So why are we concluding that it is concluded? For me, it is not concluded till it will be concluded.
Sure. All right. And just to ride on what Vice Chair had asked, when you are told to provide justification why the project is not suitable for open competitive procurement, in your response, you indicated time. And that is on the document that is on E, PPP Committee Technical Working Paper. They said the reason why is immediate need to develop the airport. It looks like an emergency. But now that you have heard there are other people who are interested, of which we are going to call KAA to come to this committee and say why they never forwarded this PIP. They only chose to forward the Adani one.
You see, Chair, that comment is actually from KAA, the contracting authority. It's not from Treasury. And it is a contracting authority which has made that observation of time. This committee to guide, the PPP committee. But I also want to say this, Chair. Truth be told, our airport needs to be developed. We have complaints about the leaking roofs. We have complained about power. As to whether this PIP was the right thing to do, it's for the contracting authority to address. But what I know is PIP is provided in law, And as far as where it has reached, I have no reason as CS National Treasury of the Republic of Kenya to fault any process. The process is still ongoing. So far, I have no reasons to doubt the work that has been done by both the directorate, the committee, and even the contracting authority. So whether this should be stopped is not a decision I would sit here as CS, and that is why we have independent PPP committee to deal with that, the directorate to guide, the contracting authority. If I now come here as CS Finance and say they should stop, on what grounds?
But you sit at the cabinet and you're going to discuss it there. Would you give such an opinion?
Of course, if it comes to the cabinet, I will deal with it there. And you see, whatever we'll discuss in the cabinet will remain in the cabinet.
Senator Chute.
Yeah, maybe before you give Senator Chute.
I don't know what
this committee made a recommendation.
I don't know what it means, because I have seen dispatches from cabinet when you have meetings. Why are you saying this one will remain there? Because after cabinet meetings, I usually see something called a dispatch from cabinet on the things that you have discussed. Honorable Mbadi, we live in a country of transparency. If it is a matter affecting all of us, you cannot say as CS that it will remain there. That airport does not belong to cabinet. It belongs to all the 55 million of us. And as the house that oversights executive, I think you should withdraw that statement, Honorable CS.
The recommendations
Chairman, you know, Honorable SIFUNA and I, up to recently, I've not had the luxury of being in the cabinet. And I've just been in the cabinet for a few weeks, but this is the information.
So you need some induction.
This is the information I would supply, that communication from the cabinet will come officially. Whatever is discussed in the cabinet is not for public consumption, but what the outcome, the decision is of the cabinet will be communicated. Whoever disagrees and agrees, we will never know. And I'm not at liberty to give my opinion here, because then it will be said that MBADO was overruled. So let me go to the cabinet and engage my mind at the cabinet. Then when the communication comes, you should know it is a collective responsibility, which now I cannot run away from, even if I had a different opinion.
Okay, Bwana CS. Vice Chair, quick one, 1 minute.
Yeah,
just 1 minute.
Chair, I just needed to put the record straight, that the CS should also know that we in this committee or in the Senate are not opposed to the improvements and maintenance and even enlargement of development at the airport. We are not opposed to that. Neither are we opposed to the BOT, the build, operate and transfer method. We only want Kenyans to get value for money. We want the best to be given in order to do the job at the airport.
Yeah. That's setting the record straight.
Chair, I wanted
yes.
to ask a supplementary question on what the CS has commented. CS, if you ask today straight to your face, there are these 4 methods of procurement, and you have been approached for advisory because the PIP proposal was brought to Treasury. And then also there are 3 other methods which are acceptable in law that can be followed. Is it possible for you as CS Treasury to guide that because of the nature of this project, let us avoid the PIP and go to competitive bidding, also noting that this project has brought a lot of public outcry. So at your level now where we are, is it possible to advise or to guide that let us stop the PIP because it was brought on by Adani, and then we open it to competitive bidding, so that also you can get an opportunity also to make sure that Adani also competes with other stakeholders who might be interested in the project.
CS.
Chair, I only want to request that I'm not pushed to step outside the law. The public-private partnerships procurement methods are outlined in law. A contracting authority may procure a public-private partnership project under this act through A, direct procurement, B, privately initiated proposals, or C, competitive bidding, and D, restricted bidding. So each either one of these can be picked and executed, so long as it is executed within the law, there would be no problem. So if it is pointed out to me clearly that there is a violation of the law, I would guide otherwise. As to whether there were other PIPs, I'm yet to see. What I have seen here are letters, written, expression of interest. You know, even me, I can write to KAA and express my interest that I want to develop the airport. It doesn't have to proceed to PIP because there are conditions, there are things you have to fulfill. So if it is proved that there are some proposals that went to KAA, proposals, not expression of interest, and KAA did not act, then KAA needs to respond to Kenyans and tell us what happened. As far as I'm concerned, and I want to repeat, Treasury is not in receipt of any other PIP apart from the one by Adani.
My question, Chair, is very simple. Whether as custodian of our Treasury, is it possible to guide the government where you sit, the presidency? Is it possible to guide that this method is not the best, let us go to competitive bidding? Is it possible to guide at that level where we are today?
And again, Banasias, you said in your response, you actually quoted Section 40, subsection 2 of the PPP Act, saying that the project should be delivered at a fair market price. How would you know a fair market price if it is not competitive?
That is provided under PIP. You know, we are mixing two procurement methods, Chair. You cannot have PIP and have competitive bidding. It's not practical.
No,
so under PIP, to determine that, you do due diligence, technical evaluation, and that is the process.
The line we are talking about, Banasias, is the justification why the project is not suitable for competitive procurement. That is where we are.
You know, the assumption here is that procurement, competitive bidding, is superior to PIP. And I'm not seeing that in law. Can someone point out to me in this act where
it's the law? It's the law that says, the one you're holding,
this law,
that you have to give justification why it is not suitable for open competitive procurement, not direct. So the one that is superior actually from that line is open competitive procurement, because you only need to give justification why you are not using that. So it must be the one that is superior.
And that is required for KAA to state, and they have stated. You can agree with it, you can
We want you to guide them. That is a question.
You see,
whether you'd want to guide them.
Chair, let us allow the technical evaluation to proceed. Once it is done, once it is done, this process will even come to the cabinet. It will go to the Attorney General. All these legal provisions. In fact, the Attorney General has no capacity to even advise Cabinet Secretary.
I would like to inform the Cabinet Secretary that competitive procurement under the law is superior to a PIP. That is why under section 40, clause 3, paragraph J, you are required to give a justification why you can't use competitive bidding, because that is